Welcome to the May 20th, 2025 meeting of the Woodbridge Board of Education. Good evening, everyone. I am going to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock p.m. I'll take the role of board members. Stephen Lawrence.
Present.
Sarah Beth Delpreet is going to be late this evening. Dr. Daya will not be with us, I don't believe. Lauren Francesi.
Present.
Brooke Hopkins, not with us this evening. Jeff Hughes, not with us this evening. Mike Strambler.
Here.
Aaron Williamson.
Here.
And I'm Lynn Piasek, chair.
Jacuzzi and Miss Widmeyer, I think that you're hanging back for the next thing. Yeah, but thank you for being here with them. And come around here. And I know that I can probably speak for the entire sixth grade team when I say that we are so very proud of you. You were chosen out of over 100 students in sixth grade to receive these awards. And you were chosen by the teachers and the staff at Beecher because of all of the amazing things that you do, not only at school, but outside of school, but more importantly, because of the student and the person that you are. Your teachers, when they wrote letters about you, talked about your kindness, how even simple things like helping a friend out in class is something that you do all the time, but how you also do bigger things in your classroom, in the school, and in the world. So congratulations. You are amazing. We hope that you continue to be the amazing people that you are, and we are pretty confident that you will. So congratulations to all of you. And take pictures.
Yep, okay.
What's going to happen next?
Sure. Ms. Sherman, you want to?
Yes.
I'll be the passer-outer.
You'll be the passer-outer.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. We're not used to this setup. Parents can see too.
Yes.
Parents, if you need to get out of your seats to take pictures, please feel free.
Feel
This is
free.
your chance.
And then we'll have a brief recess so that there'll be photo ops if you want after this.
Okay. So the CAP Superintendent Student Recognition Award winner, this one goes to Vivian. And in addition to the award, you're also receiving the write-up that your teacher wrote about you. Okay? Congratulations. Good work. Congratulations. This CAP Superintendent Student Recognition Award is Kavi Dada.
From the board.
Our next CAPS Superintendent Student Recognition Award winner is Allison Griffiths. Our next CAPS Superintendent Student Recognition Award winner is Arwin Halstead. Our next CAPS Superintendent Student Recognition Award winner is Taylor Morris. And Xander is Xander our final one? Are you our final one? CAPS Superintendent.
Final CAPS, yes.
Final CAPS Superintendent Student Award.
Mordecai has to step forward and wave. Mordecai was honored, and Lucy, who I don't think is here, were honored at a luncheon just a few weeks ago with children from all over South Central Connecticut, which was equally wonderful as well. He got his certificate there.
Yes. Okay.
And I think Mrs. Piazek would like to mention a little something for.
So, yes, I'm going to make a motion for a 5-minute recess so we can enjoy some cupcakes and have some photo opportunities. Do I have a second for that? Stephen Lawrence, all those in favor? Anything for cupcakes.
I
Stephen
know.
said. Okay, thank you. We will reconvene our meeting at 7:17 p.m. after our brief recess. Next on the agenda is correspondence. I don't believe we had any correspondence in our packet. Any emails or letters that were received would have been included in board correspondence if they were received prior to 4 p.m. today. However, I don't think we have received anything. Public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to student council update.
Yay. There are 4 of us.
Sure, pull up a chair right to that table so that you have a microphone and you can be heard. So this evening, we're happy to have some of our advisors from Student Council and some of our Student Council members who are here to give us a Student Council update.
Yes, so I will begin. I'm Teresa Nacuzzi. I'm one of the literacy specialists at Beecher. And I am happy to be here to present a little unexpected surprise. We have both of our Student Council founders here this evening. We are 12 years strong at Beecher, our Student Council. So we will give an update, but we have one of the founders, Mrs. Kayla Widmeyer, is here, and our other founder, Mrs. Sandy Simowitz, is here, our surprise. We're so happy that she could be here to hear a little bit about what we've been doing in Student Council. So we have had each year since 12 years ago, about 30 students. They're 5th graders and 6th graders, and we've had anywhere from 2 to 3 to now 4 advisors. So Kayla and myself are advisors, along with Beth Green and Jackie Taylor. So we work very well together, thankfully, because we do spend a lot of time together. We have had many events. We have a Heart for Service. One of the special events just happened yesterday, and Mrs. Tenza was there to witness it. It was a Healing Paws and Helping Hands event for our 4th graders. So we have community organizations coming together, like Canine First Responders were there, and a local potter who was there. And somehow we merged them together and taught students how someone who creates pottery and a dog handler and a canine are doing the same things. They're both like bringing people calm feelings and helping people to relax and feel peaceful. So we do special events like that. Our events tend to be intergenerational or fundraising events. They're always community building. So I know that our 2 current 5th grade Student Council members would like to share some of the very special events. And can I just say, if it wasn't for you showing up along with our other Student Council members, we could not do the fundraising, which would not lead to the donations that we give, and then we couldn't have the partnerships that we have. And we have partnerships with the PTO, with the Woodbridge Town Library, with Animal Control, with so many organizations. We should probably list them out at some point. So we'll share a little bit of it right now. So we have Maya Hurwitz, who is here as a 5th grade student, and we have Nova Aponte, who is here. I don't know if you want to say anything. No. Okay. All right. Are you guys all set? Want to go? Okay. So here are some special treats to listen to.
Okay, so
Can you, as you do, please just talk right into the mic for us?
Pull the microphone closer to you. Yes, wonderful.
okay, so I'm Anna, and one of the really fun things that I like to do at Student Council is a lot of the bake sales, because they contribute into a lot of the things that we like to do. Like they raise money for different things that we do, like So when we do these are like the conferences, and sometimes we help out at like certain things like math night. We also, as student council, me, Nova, and someone who sadly couldn't come tonight, his name was Ben, we made a little, I would call it like an organization that we did at school. And so we are donating like cans and plastic bottles and like the little like pop tabs that go on the top of your like soda cans or seltzer cans. And so we're going to donate those, like bring them to places that we can turn them in and exchange them for money. And then we like help raise money for different things like organizations and stuff like that. Would you like to say anything?
Hi, I'm Nova, and I would like to share about when we wrapped presents for kids in need. I think it was really helpful to do that because some parents can't afford presents for their kids, and I feel like it's I feel like it's important because every kid deserves a present on Christmas, and it's good to help out for other people. And I like doing this because I like the feeling of knowing that some other kids get to be happy on Christmas, and yeah. Oh yeah. So another thing that we did was we painted, and we went to the senior center, and we painted with some seniors, and we made connections, and we talked to them, and it was very fun, and it was nice getting to know some of the seniors around here.
And I will add that I participated as a senior in that activity, and it was fabulous.
We have the pictures, yes.
And another thing we did was we made cards for Valentine's Day for
We made cards for Valentine's Day for like certain people who like to like as like a pick-me-up kind of thing to like get their hopes up high and like their spirits. We another thing we did was we did the Ronald McDonald House, and we designed our own tree. We chose a Winter Wonderland theme, and we made, I believe, hedgehogs for the tree and like foxes. And so we made, like, the student council members made them themselves, and I just really liked it because it was like knowing that we were helping an organization that could help for other people, and I really liked it because it was helping like the children's hospital, and that felt like really cool to be a part of.
Anything there? So
I don't think so.
Our mission is to spread kindness, to be in service for others. If we could tell you all the different charities we donated to, all the different organizations, and if it weren't for students like Maya and Nova showing up, we couldn't really accomplish what we do and what we have done for the past 12 years since both of you began student council 10 years ago. All right, thank you so much for your time tonight. We were so happy to come back because I have notes from 2015. That was the last update that we gave. We can't have that happening again.
Right,
More
right.
frequently, every 5 years. 10.
What every come next.
So I'm very happy that you've come to give an update tonight. It's something that, as the board chair, I've been asking for because it highlights the wonderful things that the students at Beecher Road School do for themselves, for the school, and for the greater community. So kudos to you guys, and thank you for everything that you do. So I have Smarties for you too.
And if you haven't, please grab a cupcake, but thank you for taking advantage of the opportunities.
Thank you.
Still waiting.
course.
Mrs. Sherman, I got a great picture of them that I will send you tomorrow, and you can send to the families when they were sitting here. It was a nice way to get a
Good
a
angle.
shot. Yes.
Just a moment for photo opportunity.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's cute. What's so wonderful about these things is that the community gets to see the great things that are happening at Beecher Road School. So this is one of my favorite nights as the board chair. And so next on the list is another great group.
Oh my gosh, I love
It's like
Now I'm
party
like,
night.
come on. Does not get better. Wow.
Oh, that's so
Thank
nice.
Love that.
Oh, that's.
You guys volunteer too, we know
Love
it.
swag.
I know, right?
This is New England swag.
Totally, 100%.
So tonight we welcome Mrs. Cindy Kruger, PTO President Extraordinaire, who is here to give us a little report.
Do you want me to?
Now I have to figure, how do I use that?
I can click
Which
it.
should be
If you just point to me.
Okay. Can it get projected? or- Clicker.
Maybe it went to sleep.
Yeah.
I went to the
Give me a second.
town meeting
There
last
we go, just fire it up. There you go. It's wide awake now. It should be up on the screen. But this needs to be woken up. This works though. So yeah, this works. Oh, I don't know why I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, did not see that one.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Power. Okay.
I'm ready to install solar panels on top of it.
It's not on the screen though.
Sufficiently knowledgeable.
It's coming.
It takes
Just
a-
gonna
Okay.
turn off
All right.
that row of lights.
Oh, I can
That's
see
it?
I think needs
That's
to be
the best we can
slicker.
do, huh?
Thank you, Erin. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Is that gonna be enough?
Okay. They say it'll get better. Oh, it's beautiful. Well, thanks everyone for having me here. I actually think this format is good to introduce at the beginning of the year and come now at the end of the year. And of course, thank you everyone for coming to Quasi, because this had to be turned in beforehand. But I will say that the best way to raise the most money is to have the most iffy weather that you cannot predict, and then have lots of people come to the door in beautiful weather at the end and pay extra money, and it worked out great.
I love it.
So I was looking for something in my emails, and I guess I searched Quasi, and I found an email from the former principal in 2019, and it said, we're really excited that we sold 500 tickets for Quasi. And I will say, this year we sold almost 1,100 tickets for Quasi. So as I'm doing my final presentation here, and I am going to leave as I'm not going to be PTO president next year, I want to say that the thing that I feel really proud of is the community building work we've done. And I want to thank you all too, because you are all volunteers, and we know that. I mean, you're elected, you chose to do it, all this, but it still takes a lot of time. And the PTO, we see you. All right, what did we do? So this is another great pride of mine, is that I got the whole thing on a page. This is what we call the program on a page. And we're going to talk about this in a couple different ways. So you guys have been to most of these events, but this is just the nice way to put it all up there to say it happened. As we went through the year, and we welcomed back, and we did socials, and then we had picture day and the hoot. We're going to see some pictures in here of some of the great evenings we have to celebrate our educational events. And of course we have to do fundraising, and we are just kicking off the field day fun run, which you should all give generously, and tell your friends, please. So let's look at this. So I organized this into sort of the sections of what are we doing. So we're thinking about our fundraising events as community events, and some of them we make more money and some of them we make less money, and we do that now on purpose. Like, we want to know what our goal is. But we made a good amount. Oh, and I think I had on a different slide. It costs about $80,000 a year to run the PTO and do the events we do. So it's not a little, not a lot. But book fair is one of our big fundraisers. We did the fall and the spring. The kids seem to love it. As Mrs. Sherman pointed out to me, you make memories that last a lifetime. You probably remember going to the book fair as a kid. So it's something that we really want to keep and enjoy. The Hoot, yeah, I think I saw all of you at the Hoot. There's so many pictures from the Hoot I can barely capture. I know people are already working on next year's Hoot. They're so excited, and to me, that means that it's a success. And for the first time, we did a popcorn fundraiser this year, and Mrs. Finelli really championed this for us. And to have a teacher champion this really helped us raise a lot of money. And that's something we would love to just pair more teachers with our events. We know our teachers work really hard, and a lot of them have other jobs as well. So including, they also have families, they have jobs, second jobs, but to have them really involved just drove a lot of participation, and we really appreciate it. Then we had community events that were just community events. We did not try to raise money. In fact, this is where some of our budget went. And these are a lot of our sort of academic events. I will say next year we're going to try to move. Well, Mrs. Sherman doesn't know. I maybe shouldn't say it out loud. Well, we have an idea that International Night maybe will move to a weekend because it'll be more kid-friendly to have it during the day. And maybe the Science Night we can even move during school day, but we'll talk about it. But if the nights are great, and they're great community building events, but they are a little exhausting for some of our little ones. So we're thinking about how to balance that out a little more. So Science Night, great success. We really enjoyed having this outside vendor. They're really easy to work with. And this year the school paid for it. It's even better. So it worked out. But even if they can't pay for it, we plan to fund this going forward. As I think the kids really enjoyed it. And it's the kind of thing they'll remember for life. And that they don't remember so well from year to year that they don't want to see it again and again because it's like new and exciting. Book Swap is a special Beecher event. And it takes a lot of time and organizing and a lot of volunteers. And the way they turn these books, like if it were me, I would have thrown all the books in there and be like, hello, good luck. But they turned it into basically a bookstore, and the organizing and reorganizing and making sure it was not just there, but appealing and exciting. And I think the kids really enjoyed that. And it really shows how the community cares about education and reading. International Night, this was our second year and our first year to add performances, which went really well, we think. It was just wonderful to see people come out of the woodwork. It wasn't that hard to coordinate because so many people just wanted to participate. And it was a great way to celebrate our rich community and made me really proud to live in Woodbridge. And I hope you all enjoyed that one. Math night, I think we tripled the number of attendees. Somehow word got out that this is not just, it's for everybody, and it's exciting and it's fun, and you can see the student council there because they did come and do the bake sale for us. And it was just so rewarding to see so many kids. And this year we, sort of out of desperation, but we got the high school math club to come, and that ended up being fantastic. The volunteers loved it. They said they wanted to come back the next year. So that was great.
Great idea.
Arts night. Over here on the right, you see John, who designed these T-shirts, and Christina, who organized the night. Down at the bottom, Mrs. Gomes and Mrs. Chialiglio, who ran a great workshop. And it was just a great night. We also were very lucky with the weather and really enjoyed that. We ran out of T-shirts to sell, so we'll fix that next year now that we have a better idea of what our audience is like. And these T-shirts are an example of something we purposely don't make money on. They are community building, as are Beecher wear. We make a tiny bit of money, but it's really for community building. And then we were really trying to appreciate our staff and build morale in the school. Get more thank yous out there in the forms of foods, notes. New this year was stocking the staff room. So here's just that volunteer breakfast we did. We did the welcome back. A teacher appreciation week. These was very cute. I had no idea how it was going to turn out, but a bunch of volunteers stood by and the kids all wrote beautiful things. And I hope the teachers all went and looked at them because it was so heartwarming. And then we also did coffee for them and lunch and the little honey jars. They each got one too because this is our beautiful bee themed year. And then stock the staff room just to show you what it kind of looked like. See those coffee pods? We basically made sure there was coffee. We stocked it once a month, which I think is about the right rate. Like you create this excitement, and the seltzers would last for one day, but the coffee.
3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. They were like coming down, like, oh, you're putting them in. You're putting them in. I'm just gonna take 2 for a friend. Like, so we're good. But and the candy and maybe the snacks. But we always made sure there's coffee, hot chocolate. That would last the whole month. Just to make sure that everyone sort of feels more appreciated and has a spot where they can go get a treat if they need that for that day. And I will say this was Mrs. Sherman and the team's idea, and at first we thought it was going to be extraordinarily expensive, but we figured out a way to just ask all the parents to work on it each month, and it's still expensive, but it worked out fine because we had no problems. They were all willing to donate something with the Amazon lists, and probably a lot of you did it too, so thank you. Even the 6th graders. I was in charge of 6th grade. I'm like, wow, they bought stuff because sometimes they're checked out, so I was very pleased. They were just
Very well received by staff.
Oh, good. Yeah, so I think we definitely would want to keep this. And then we did some additional programming this year. We added this ambassador program. I don't know, did any of you participate? We had a week in December, and I was traveling, so Monica basically took the whole thing. But we just said, hey, let's get parents back in the school. And we had about 50 volunteers who came in and talked to our classrooms about what they did for careers. And it was literally like aviator to zookeeper. It was everything that anyone could ever imagine. And it was really beautiful to see a different way for parents to get involved in the school. I don't know that the PTO has to organize that. I think we can just encourage that, but it was I think pretty special. Academic enrichment, I have a slide on that next, and teacher grants, and I can't read what's in yellow, so we did that too, and then whatever it is. Okay, next. All right, so teacher grants, just we bid about $10,000 in teacher grants. This year the format was what we've done in the last few years, which is $200 per class, and then you have to apply. We're thinking of ways to change that up, because we don't have to do the same program every year, but to get that amount of money or a little bit more into the school, but maybe on a grade level or with the specials classes. So we're thinking about what we might do next year. But just to give you an example, there's a picture of some of the flexible seating that was bought for many classrooms. That is something that we could wasn't in your school budget, but we could add. And then in-school academic events, I think in the past this was called in-school field trips, and that was really confusing because we want kids to take real field trips, like go out of school for field trips, and the school organizes the field trips, the school subsidizes the field trips where that's needed. The PTO pays for these in-school academic events. And we also finally have a handle on what we were doing and make sure that every grade has one, has exposure to some. I saw there was one today, the Birds of Prey was in today. So I think these are really just great activities. I know we brought in Elm City Shakespeare to do a drama with the 6th grade for the first time, and I think it was just really well received, and where we can look for more opportunities to keep enhancing this, it's good. Although you guys tell me, of course, but I hear it's good. And then social events. You guys know that. Our new thing was to have a parents' night out. It was well attended and people were excited. We're just trying to build spirit. So this is the board from this year. We will be electing a new board next week. Monica will be becoming president and I will take on the fundraising. Susan will be signing off of the board, as will Laurel, and we'll have a couple of new volunteers come in. And we feel really good about we're in a place where the people here want to be here, which is really what you need for a great board. And I am not going to read all the volunteers. I was going to count them for you, but I forgot. And just to tell you, there are lots and lots of volunteers. International Night, who did have over 116. So, I mean, we really have a lot of volunteers to make this going. And that's it, guys. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Cindy. You know what I think is really important is that for us at the end to see the culmination of all that has been accomplished in the year. It's a credit to you and the great parents who work with you every single day to make Beecher an even more special place. Everything that you do, and I especially appreciated the building of community this year. So I thank you for the time that you've put in being the president and for your cooperation in working with the board and with the staff. It's certainly been appreciated.
Absolutely, and thank you. We couldn't do it without the staff support and Mrs. Sherman and everybody.
We studied impact this year, and your impact is significant.
Oh, that's so nice. I will definitely tell the whole PTO that, whoever shows up next week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been great,
That's
Cindy. Thank
really
you.
rewarding.
And thank you for your service too. I know you're not going anywhere.
No.
So we'll continue to appreciate you. And thank you for the honey.
Yes.
Absolutely. You want another one?
Appreciate that. All right, moving on to number 3, consent agenda. The minutes of the April 21st regular meeting are included in this evening's consent agenda, along with the budget narrative, a budget summary, detailed financial report, and combining financial statements. Does anyone on the board wish to extract anything from the consent agenda for discussion this evening? Seeing none, may I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Jay? Second? Stephen? Motion made to accept the consent agenda by Jay Dahlia, seconded by Stephen Lawrence. All those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. Moving on to number 4 on our agenda, superintendent's report. Ms. Tenza.
Okay, thank you again, Mrs. Kruger, really from the bottom of our heart. I'll begin by sharing that this week, just last night actually, our budget was approved at the annual town meeting. So our 25-26 operating budget was adopted at $18,525,855, which is a 5.18% increase over the current year. And we are very grateful for the fact that Woodbridge values education and that the Board of Education and the town have come together to support a significant increase in our budget, really, during difficult times. So we do appreciate that. Also, in terms of this year's budget, the 24-25 budget, we are currently looking at, if we have a little bit of a surplus, what we would maybe do with that surplus. We've asked our administrators to do some brainstorming on needs. We've done some brainstorming with our leadership team. I shared some initial ideas with the Board of Education during my weekly update, and our finance committee also helped us brainstorm a little bit, and we will continue to work on that and finalize it for your consideration at the June Board of Education meeting. Staffing, I just want to wrap up the fact that the month of May is staff appreciation, it's teacher appreciation, and we tend to appreciate everybody. so that nobody feels left out, and it's really easy to appreciate everybody in Woodbridge because they really are amazing. So I thought I would just give you a few personal examples that I observed over the last few weeks of our welcoming and kind building climate. These are very specific examples from just me walking around. Spend a lot of time in our classrooms. So our staff work really hard to create the positive relationships with learners that contribute to our school climate. An example is when I visited kindergarten last week, I noticed some really wacky hairdos and some crazy socks, and I asked Mrs. Cofrancesco, is it a hair day? And she said, oh yes, kindergarten this month has the ABC end of year countdown. Today's crazy hair. She said, here, come right over and take a picture so that you too can participate whenever you want, right? There's a teacher kind of welcome you into the community. When I was in grade 1 last week, the students in Mrs. Dimitro's class were working in small groups on a math estimation station. They invited me to play. I played around and I was way off on my estimate. One of the little learners said to me in a very chipper voice, that's okay. I have to get this right. Sometimes I'm wrong too. Don't worry. Don't feel bad. We just keep trying. And I walked out of that room thinking that's a first grader spreading positivity and growth mindset at a very young age. That's a tribute to our staff and our families and the culture of our building. A few weeks ago, I was also walking up the hallway. A custodian was dusting. You don't see that in every building, I'm going to be honest. He was dusting. He looked up. He said hi. And he said, we are really going to miss you, and I'm glad I got to tell you that in person. Again, something that you don't see or hear every place that you go. Last week I was in Joe DePalma's classroom. This is kind of interesting, talking about know your impact. And he pulled me right over and he said, my senior Amity intern right here, he was my first year when I taught first grade. I had him, and he's back. And I thought, talk about impact and the fact that this young man is grown and wanted to come back. And then my final example, I believe Mrs. Sherman's going to touch on, is that I was invited to participate in the book bracket battle parade. And, you know, I helped carry the banner, and I had a little handmade shirt that said Coach Tenza, and I'm going to treasure that shirt. To be a part of that frenetic, loud cheering parade is something that a superintendent doesn't often get the opportunity to do. So again, I know I'm leaving this position because I'm retiring. Somebody is going to just inherit a gem of a job. It's a wonderful place to be, and it's a complete credit to the staff. They work hard to build this environment for our children. It doesn't just happen. It's by design to make that magic happen. Speaking of staff, we do have 2 resignations on our agenda tonight. I do just want to speak briefly about them, but I'll do that later.
Sure.
Okay.
When we get to that part of the
Perfect.
agenda?
Yes.
That'd be great.
And so at your seat, you have a little bottle of maple syrup, if you haven't noticed that. So that's from Jessica Hill, our food service director. She came down today and she said, hot off the press. This year, and I asked her to send me some notes, she's tried to increase our partnership with local Connecticut farms. So at a recent training, she met somebody named Brian from Forest Mill Farm in Coventry, which is about an hour away. I had to look. And they produce maple syrup, and they've started partnering with school districts to bring pure maple syrup to students. So starting in June and continuing to next year, when we have brunch for lunch, our children will be, they'll be enjoying the Forest Mill Farm syrup. And we just received our fresh supply. They delivered it straight from the farm.
And the owners brought it themselves.
Yep, they brought it themselves. And just a few tips on the farm that Jessica shared with us is they use the most energy efficient evaporators in maple syrup production. They employ a unique process to map out the maple trees with their tubing so that the tubing is not thrown away every year. They use it down and reuse it so it reduces the waste. They exclusively use specific food grade certified equipment to ensure quality products, and they're proud to also be recognized by the Connecticut Audubon Society to be part of their bird-friendly maple program. And so she asked for some samples for the Board of Education to thank you for your support of our food service program. So that's kind of exciting. And then, shortly we will hear from Carrie Borcherding, and I would just like to recognize Carrie for her leadership of our special education department, Department of Special Services. It includes the TAG program as well, the Gifted and Talented program. Carrie is organized, she's caring, She's bright, she's dedicated, and she focuses on what's best for each learner. She's really made a difference in our district, so we look forward to her update about our program.
Just before you start, Carrie, I'm just going to ask the board if they had any questions for Vonda based on her report. Thanks for sharing all of that.
You're welcome.
Makes us feel really great about what's going on. So
It's your work that contributes to it. It's hard to see that as a volunteer, but it's your work.
Wait, well, we have to go.
The other presentation should be loaded on there already.
Okay, so just clicking, just keep clicking. No, no, no.
Once we
First grader would say, just keep turning.
That's all right, I'll get it.
She's gonna come this way.
not have this one. It's gotta be here somewhere. Unless it's on, actually. No, it's definitely. Sorry, folks, technical difficulties. Excuse me. What presentation am I looking for, by the way?
Called tax.
Tag sped.
Tags, okay. Let's see in here.
When you have it in front of you, I can just speak to it if that's easier. And we can post it. I have a copy. I can't click through the pictures that Ms. Bucko put on there, but I can tell you what they are.
It actually has a red cover in case that helps you map it.
Carrie, do you want a version like this, or are you good with what you got?
I can use this.
Okay.
Can we just get started?
It's right in the middle.
I think so.
I have it.
Okay.
Okay, I got it. So I just wanted to give everyone a little update on where things are with TAG. We just finished another year's administration of the new assessment measures. And you know, Woodbridge is a really high achieving district, so you typically see about 5 to maybe 7% of students, and this year I believe, we'll get to it, but I believe it's about 13% or something like 13% of third grade this year, so pretty amazing. Again, we're still using the same eligibility on the second slide. That is everyone takes the NNAT, that's the non-verbal ability test, and then if you had a score in the 95th percentile, you'd move on to the next round. One thing we did start doing differently this year based on last year's testing, and we are going to review the process again this fall, is to think about the teacher recommendations moving to in between, because we had a number of students who the teacher said, gosh, I'm really surprised that their score did not put them in the next round of testing, And nearly all of those students that were put forward by teachers did end up making it in this year. So something that we looked at differently, because we do want to make sure we're identifying the right students, but it is quite a large group for the next year. So again, something we'll look at what other districts are doing as people update tests and look at different measures. So something we'll look at doing for next year. The talented portion, so in the last 3 years, we've only had one student that was recommended for talented programming. Again, it's the requirement is that we screen for the gifted, but talented students can be recommended. It is the same guidelines that we can either run programming or not, depending on what the student needs and what our student needs are in the district. And so for that particular student, they are very musical and have a lot going on outside of school, and just decided to go with that avenue. But they are documented. They can say that they have that eligibility. So on the grade 3 results, 134 students are in grade 3. 29 participated in the SAGES, so the second round testing. That test for 3rd grade is challenging because you have to read the entire test to the students. So it was very lengthy, and they were very patient and very small groups of kids taking their time. There were a couple sections where they could work through on their own, but a lot of it having to listen to it. Now in the 4th and 5th grade students, we do have a few students who redid screening, or they moved in from another district or another state, and so they took it in 4th and 5th. That test is slightly different, and they can read it to themselves, which I think a lot of our 3rd graders are completely capable of reading it, but it's just the requirements of the assessment. And then this year, 18%, sorry, not 13, 18% of the students are eligible, which is, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of almost a whole class worth of students. So quite a large number. The next slide is the rebranding tag. So it was really interesting. I had 2 girls come and knock on the door, and someone said, there's 2 girls who want to talk to you about something, and I couldn't, okay, and we want to talk about tag. We want to talk about the name changing. I said, man, this is perfect timing. We're going to talk about this week. So earlier this year, I had a note from a couple students that were in tag saying that they would like to talk about the name change and what the requirements are, and how do you get into tag, and why are only some students in tag. And it was a very curious, why is this the way it is? So we had that discussion, and then I had these 2, and they were tag eligible students, and then I had 2 students just come to me this week saying, we'd really like to talk about the program, and we don't think it's bad. We think our friends that are in it, it's good for them, but we're also talented and gifted, and we have our own talents. And on one hand, like, it broke my heart a little bit, because they're not wrong. Everyone has their own talents. I also know that we have the requirement of screening students. So that's the determination that a lot of districts have to make, where do we have a separate program? Do we do just what we're doing now, an enrichment opportunity? I think we can always look at, are we doing the right thing? Should we be doing something different? There's also a large number of districts who are doing the eligibility, and then they're doing enrichment groups for all students, and they're just making sure that students are separated accordingly. Now that we have our STEAM teacher again, it might be something we discuss. We can certainly come back to the table and talk about those pieces as well. But I said I would share their information tonight. I was very proud of them. They said, well, we actually have a plan to contact the state about it, because we'd like the name to change. And I said, that's fantastic. I'm on board. I'll totally help you do it. I have no idea who we're supposed to contact first. But they'd already had a list of names. They're going to kid governor, and I said, great, we'll send it to my department at the state, and we'll talk to the other people that we need to. So 2 very excited. Actually, one of them was presenting tonight here, so I'm very excited to share that they're fine, but like, we would like it to be called something different, because we also don't like the perception that we all can't participate. So there is going to be a new renaming of it. There are right now 5 options that have come from kids or staff members, but certainly we can look at others, and students will vote on it this spring. So those possible names were Imagineers, which they're calling their expo this year, Kaleidoscope, Wings, PEP, which is the personal enrichment program, or LEAP, a learning enrichment achievement program. So maybe a different acronym, but maybe rebranding and kind of looking a new direction for what we're going to do with that. So they'll vote on a name this spring. So this year there were 57 students eligible to participate in TAG. Oh, there it is.
Excuse me. Oh, wait. Oh, please.
Well, I'll click through when we get to the slide that's supposed to be.
Yeah, just gotta move the file.
So there were 57 students that were eligible to participate. Next year, with the numbers of students leaving and students coming in, there will be 66. Some students ultimately decide not to participate. It also depends on when it blocks into the day. So right now, sometimes, oh, thank you. That's perfect. I can go back to the ones I need.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So students sometimes will choose not to participate because it does this year for 6th grade line up with the Beecher News. So some students opted for that instead, which, I was having a conversation earlier with Cindy, like that's a choice and kids have to sometimes make choices. And there are some students who chose to do other things this year, which is fine. But next year there will probably be 2 groups of 6th grade, 2 groups of 4th grade, and 1 group of 5th grade running. So that's kind of what it looks like now. But again, we could have a number of students move in. Last summer, I believe we had 5 or 6 eligible students move in. So the next few slides are from Miss Bucko. She gave me some information on what everyone was working on. So I'm just going to read it to you so you know what she had for me. The current TAG program was designed to inspire students through creative activities that challenge critical thinking, engage student passion, and encourage exploration. Each grade level participated in activities that integrated technology, knowledge, and skills. Their final projects will be showcased at the end of the year expo. Grade 4 students launched into a movie-making journey that expanded upon their previous knowledge of stop-motion animation, bridging into the digital world. And that is the picture, I believe, in the middle. It did click, but that one, no, it's not going to. Student groups wrote, animated, and edited short films using digital products, Google Slides, and Canva. The final stop-motion projects will be at the expo this year. Grade 5 students embarked on a technology-themed year, learning about augmented reality and how technology has changed over time. Students studied, wrote, and coded their own reality video games and programs using coding software Tinker, and they applied their newfound knowledge to build augmented reality experiences in CoSpaces EDU. Grade 5 also explored the history of communication technology and impacts to the modern world. During the HTTP and Me project, students interviewed adults on their views of technology and how it's changed over their lifetime. They selected one technology tool from their interview to innovate and improve upon, and final HTTP and Me projects will be shared at the expo. And the grade 6 students went deeper into their understanding of artificial intelligence by coding hand tracking and pose tracking applications with a webcam. Students discovered how computers learn with human intervention and explored the ethical design by AI by researching famous failures and successes through history. Grade 6 students also engaged in an exploratory passion project for their Genius Hour. They selected a topic of interest to research and present upon the end of the year expo, and they were challenged to learn and employ new digital tool for their final presentation. So, very exciting pieces. And, we will make sure we get feedback too from students about this year and the things that they liked and things that they would want to see different in the future. We always do our best for scheduling to make it fall at the right time of day where it doesn't have too much impact within the schedule. Students do have to make up whatever activities they're missing during that time, but it is right now one time a 6-day cycle for 30 minutes. And so the end of the year expo will be on Thursday, May 29th from 10 to 11 a.m. If you would like to come, you are more than welcome to join us. They will have their poster project style type presentation, sort of science fair like, in South Assembly, and also their grade level peers are going to be able to come and see the things that they've been working on, which is very cool. Do you have any questions about tag? Go for it. I've attached special ed to it, so if you don't, I can keep going.
So-
Any questions?
I had a quick question. So you did mention this was it grade 3 that you got 18%
Mhm.
of the population?
Mhm.
So that's 1/5. How many students do we have in grade 3?
It's a big grade. There's 134. That was we tested
Wow.
grade 3.
And so if I took the benchmark down from, I think you were using 95%, right? Is that a common benchmark that everybody
Mhm.
uses?
Yeah, that would, from the test and from other surrounding districts. It's the 95% or higher. It's actually 98% they would say is gifted on the first assessment. Other surrounding districts also are using 95, and like I feel like that's appropriate to kind of we're giving a second round of testing. Maybe you have more advanced knowledge in some of the, literacy aspects or language components, some of the language, the analogies, and so then you take the next part. And for that eligibility, you had to have a score of 121 in at least one of the, like in the areas. There were 4 different subtests, but in at least one of the categories you had to have a score
over a certain
of
level.
121.
So the first screen came in, and then the second, was that an additional screen, or was that?
That was the SAGES test, so that was about 2 hours, maybe for some
Is
students.
that mutually exclusive from the first one, or you have to go through the first one and then the second?
You go through the first one and then you go through the second one.
Okay, and then you'd still filter out students at that level?
After that one, it would be like if you pass that level at a 121 score in one of the categories, then you would be eligible.
Automatically, but if students didn't, they would
Then
drop
they
out
would,
of the tag.
right, then they would have not
Okay.
been eligible.
And then there was a third one as well?
So there's a Renzulli rating scale, which is a teacher rating scale, that teachers, for any students that were really on the cusp, we did use it last year. We had a couple of students who had scores in multiple categories of 120. So we used that to consider students. We didn't really have any students who had those exact types of scores when the committee looked at what the scores were. And also, we did get the teacher ratings this year, or the teacher recommendations this year, ahead of doing that second round test. Which I'm glad we did, because last year we did not do it that way, and we ended up having to run extra sessions. So it just worked out better for planning wise. We did have some hiccups with technology with the first round of testing with the Naglieri, and figured out what those issues were, and so we're going to next year even start them sooner, so that we don't get so close to all of the end of the year ESPA testing.
And is
that
this done at
happens.
the beginning of the year or the end of the year?
It's done, we're gonna start around January. This was done between end of March and April, April, into the beginning of May.
And so then they'd be eligible for the following
For the
year?
following year. The third grade year is the year you're required to screen.
Okay, and any new students coming into the district would have to be tested, would they?
So some come with an eligibility. If they're coming from another school in Connecticut, we would usually already have that information. Some families, we actually did an administration in the fall. So we did the first round and the second round for anyone who wanted to. We put out through the principal newsletter that there would be another assessment to be completed. So we did actually in the fall do both the Naglieri and the SAGES assessment and enter a few more students.
I'm asking why. We take this 95% cutoff and we're taking this small group, and we're seeing an ever-increasing group in our population. So my question is, if I took that benchmark down, say another standard deviation, how many more students would fall into the category? So we're using this sort of arbitrary measure to identify talented and gifted. But I guess a lot of our students who maybe are in the next 5% down would probably be very, very close. So that would put in another, you said one class approximately is what I heard earlier, for that third grade, this would put it, what, another class or something?
Well, but last year wasn't that high.
Oh, okay.
So last year's group wasn't 18%. I think it was around 11%, which is still higher
Very
than
high.
average for like the national norms.
How do we compare in the state? Do you know?
I don't know that. I could find out.
Because we're using our peers a lot, and I don't know whether our peers have that high level too. Why? I'm thinking, sort of, you mentioned something earlier which sort of, got me thinking, that you said, do we go with a process where we move the kids in, or move everything into the classroom and enhance sort of tag through the classroom approach? I don't know, is it push in or something? Is that the
Like
approach?
enrichment clusters?
Yes.
Mhm.
So
And I
do
think
s-
that Beecher has done that in the past.
I think that's what
a
I'm
number
familiar
of years
with.
ago.
That's what I'm familiar with. So I'm thinking, this is done on an exclusive level, does it make sense to think about the other model again? Does that make sense? Because the population is getting, I hate to say it, it's getting smarter and smarter. And as they're getting smarter and smarter, I think that percentile that you're using is arbitrary in a way. We could keep raising it to try and get fewer students.
Well, that's why we didn't raise it,
Mm.
right? To just get fewer. I didn't.
No, I respect
Right, I mean,
that. I think
it-
that's very good.
Right, like that to me would be inappropriate. We can't just say it's 5% of the students because you're in Woodbridge. I mean, if you were in a different district, you might be in a different percentage. So the tests are normed nationally; they're not normed regionally to get the percentages that are used. And the districts that we looked, I'd have to go back and look, but I know we looked at our surrounding.
Okay, it's already done.
Communities.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
That's fine. I was just thinking, you presented the other model, and I said, I recall that being there at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we shifted to this one, and I just wanted sort of to understand, as the population is getting smarter, are we not better with the original model where we're pushing in, where we're capturing more students, or are we better off sort of creating this separation? I don't know.
I don't
Do
know
you-
the answer
do
to
you
that
s-
one.
do
I
you see
think
where I'm
that
going
there
with this?
is. I think there is a lot of value to the activities that are done, that could be done with all students. So I, feel for the students who say, but I didn't make it into tag, but I'm talented and I'm gifted in other ways. Like, I agree with that. So it would give the opportunity for everyone to get things, kind of like we differentiate or we, teach into some of the math compacting in or out of lessons with math. It would be similar to that, which we ask classroom teachers to do. So I think there are other ways that we could potentially look at what we want to do. It's just deciding where we want to put that focus. And there are some districts that just do the identification and run more STEAM type activities through their regular classes because of that reason, that there are, especially with technology, so many more ways you can reach a lot of kids, but just modifying things.
And I asked because when
differentiating.
you showed the topics up there was AI in there,
Mhm.
and I know the majority of kids today, when they see something like that, to say, can I do this myself? I may not be a tag kid, but I know kids who are really good at that stuff.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I think, I don't know, I'm sort of confused a little by having this tag identification, and I like the idea of the name change, I think that's fantastic. But having that tag identification, I get it, we've got to do it by state. I don't know whether the model we're using now really will work going forward, given the larger fraction of our population that falls into that category. Because I think a bunch of them will miss it by a very little amount. And some of them may not be good
There
at
are
testing.
students, I
etc.
mean, we do, right? I mean, if you're looking at where you're starting with the numbers, it is different. It is a high achieving group, and there are students who miss it by points. Again, I'm following the requirements of what I need to do, but I think district-wide we can be looking at, is this the best way to do it? Should we be looking at something different? And, how do we get these amazing resources to more students? Whether they're making the AI project or they're learning more basic about AI, I still think there's value in those pieces.
Great, thank you.
I will share that Carrie and I share your belief.
Yep.
We've had those same conversations.
It's a tough one, I think. It's very, very hard.
It's a good one to explore through curriculum next year. It's a good one to explore options.
I would just add, I also think that that's important, and it goes along with the de-leveling that we're seeing happening in the middle school. So we're seeing, if we're feeding into that school and they're de-leveling, I think it makes sense to expose all of these kids to all of these opportunities.
I think that's a really good point, and even when kids are taking the tests, the amount of stress that they have to get into this is like, guys, it's just an activity. Once you leave to go to middle school, there is no tag.
Right.
It's all gone. So it's okay, and you're talented in other things, but it is hard to hear that message. So I think worth looking at how we move forward with it.
So I just have a couple one question really. You brought up the curriculum piece for this, and I think there is something to say also if that population is growing, being mindful of that in the development of curriculum and thinking about differentiated instruction, because it can also be very easy for the curriculum to trend toward being a very, very rigorous curriculum, leaning into some of those needs, and that can also have an impact on, you know, students who, you know, might not be academically ready for that kind of work, at least where they are at the present moment. So I think that that's really, any way you slice it, helpful data to think about that large a population in the mix of the school community, and how that plays into curriculum development. The question I had, it looks like the activities and projects are largely kind of leaning into the STEM fields, that the kids are in the STEAM lab. Is the curriculum, are there opportunities in the curriculum for students to engage in like more humanities-based experiences, performing arts, like other types of programming where students get to lean into, you know, some other disciplines outside of the STEAM fields?
So there are some pieces of it from some of the activities they were doing, and I know, go back and look at the name of the one. There was one where they were doing a lot more. The 6th grade group ended with their kind of passion project, so they were researching more of an area of interest. There was another group, sorry, I have to go back and, that they had pieces of it that they were looking into. I will also say this grade level, the 3rd grade, it will have to look a little bit different next year, because last year's group was, the majority of them were also very high in the math and analogy type work, whereas it is a very mixed group for the 3rd grade group this year. So that is one thing that we've already started talking about a little bit, is how is this going to look different, and are there other resources or programs? It doesn't mean necessarily they're going to use these same activities next year. They may do some of them, or do we do some, you know, student selection of, I would rather be in the group who's focusing more on this, and I'd rather be. So I think you kind of also have to look at who your population is that you're serving at that moment, and the next year's group, it will have to look a little bit different.
Yeah, I was just curious about how flexible the curriculum was.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of, there's no rule on the curriculum, so it's just kind of building into what interests do students have and where to go from that. I know our STEAM teacher has a lot of knowledge in those areas, and a lot of kids are interested, but there are some who also need that humanity type focus.
Right, like I know a lot of 6th graders are eligible for National History Day programming and things like that, so I just didn't know some of that was.
Yeah, that'll be, I think, more this summer. We'll start talking, or as the year ends in the next short amount of time, what that might look like. It also doesn't start until October, so we do have some, you know, start up in the fall of looking at where students are and how that will work best. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Can I talk about special ed? Okay. So next is just brief updates about special education. We have a current population right now, whole school, of 875 as of our May numbers, 19 in our preschool program, and about 13.6% special education when this was created. Now that always fluctuates a little. I actually anticipated it becoming much higher by the end of this year based on numbers of enrollment during the year. But we've had a number of students who have exited special education, and we've also had a number of referrals that I'll talk about. where we decided that what was needed was more instruction and not a label of having a disability. So if you look at the chart, oh my gosh, I forgot I'm changing slides now. Sorry. When you look at the chart of the years, the past years, so in 22-23 we had the 63 referrals, 102 evaluations were completed by our psychologists, those are student evaluations. So yeah, I mean it's a lot. It could have been a whole eval, it could have been a whole triennial, it could have just been a language eval, but there were 102 evaluations and 406 PPTs. And then you very graciously helped us support another administrator. Now, I think part of the reason that we decreased the number of PPTs is we had more time to thoughtfully have discussions about students, and not every student was referred for testing. But last year we had 70 referrals. By the end of the year, 93 evaluations. And then this year, we are currently, as of Friday, at 63 referrals and 86 evaluations. There is always going to be a little bit of fluctuation in terms of what year there's a triennial, and the needs of the group of students that we have. So right now we're going to be about the same as last year in terms of numbers. That said, if you look at the next page, last year there were about 70 initial referrals. 30 did not result in the evaluation process, but 40 did move to assessment, and then about 57%. So again, very similar this year, 63 so far, 25 we did not go to evaluation. Those are a mixture of both parent referrals and school referrals. And 38 did go to assessment. So we currently have 7 that are open evaluations, and we have more referrals that have come in, so that number again will change before the end of the year. So staffing, we are fully staffed for our current teachers. I know that we do have a special ed teacher who is retiring this year, and we have already filled that position with a current employee from in the building who is leaving gen ed to move to special ed with us. And so that will be happening. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say who that is, so I'm gonna let Bon decide that. We have 3 para-educator openings. Those are due to resignations recently. And so we'll need to talk about that. And right now, through the IDEA grant for the upcoming grant, right now it is paying for a full-time SPED teacher, a speech pathologist, 0.7. We have 2 full-time and 1.7 speech. Part of a SPED and part of a social worker salary, and then part of the pre-K teacher salary and part of a paraeducator salary out of the grant funding. We will likely in 26-27, if the level of need, not the number of students, it's not a number of student need, it's a level of need of the students that we have, continues to increase, then we probably will need to change the 0.7 to a 1.0. At that point, we just won't be able to do it. We have already increased both our PT and OT time. We have someone that works 1 day a week for OT on top of our full-time person. So just the level of need of student is quite different than it was several years ago, and just even the number of referrals and the types of referrals we're getting is quite different. Which brings me to the MTSS or SRBI process. So the state the state has a manual that we have looked at, and their framework is around the multi-tiered systems of support. So part of the work we've been doing this year is having discussions with the literacy team, having discussions with the math intervention team, with teachers, and we have a group going to do some work this summer, updating our process so it aligns better with the state in terms of moving to MTSS, which also includes more behavioral intervention process than has been in the past. I mean, we're doing a lot of those things, so it makes the most sense to move to what it's being called. It does also support our new, well, it supports our strategic plan, but it also supports the new implementation of the Safe School climate plan. So it just fits nicely together to be looking at changing those resources. So we will continue to work this summer on that. I've been working with Ms. Toffel this year and the other teachers on where can we pull, what are other districts using, what other needs do our students have, and how can we somehow get parent participation or understanding of the process. So I know before we've talked a little bit about here's how you make a referral if you're concerned about your student, but before the referral, there's a lot of stuff that can be happening and should be happening. And I do believe at Beecher it is, but it may not be as transparent to families of of the process and what it looks like and how do you go about those steps. So we'd like to have some sort of either parent companion or document that goes with it to help with that. And we are using the state manual as a framework, but making it Beecher because Beecher is unique in its own way. And there are other districts that have used completely different versions. But as long as we're kind of following that process is what we're looking to do. And the last thing, I'm so excited, and I know Wanda already shared with you, but it's here. The merry-go-round that the kids love and the nurses hate is here and up. And so I got a couple pictures of it being installed during our April break. And then at the picture at the top is where they had put the gravel, but they hadn't yet poured the rubbery mat. And you'll see at the top there's also the adaptive swing is there as well, and that swing is for wheelchairs. So we've had to have, teachers have had conversations with their students, you cannot surf on it, and that is not what it's for. But the merry-go-round, everyone can go on it. It has, you can pull a wheelchair right into it, or if somebody had a broken leg, they can get right on it. Ms. Tenza was lovely enough to let me ride it, which I will not do again. It's much faster than I thought it was going to be, and I did not enjoy it, but the kids love it. So that is a great thing that we have. We also still have another swing that's not in the picture that we are looking to replace. It needs a new harness on the front, and you can no longer do that. You have to buy a whole new swing. But not only do you have to buy a whole new swing, you also have to buy the whole new mounting frame. So it's it is a process, but students are using that too. So very exciting.
Questions? Great. Anyone have questions on the special ed portion of Carrie's presentation? Okay. I thank you for all your work.
All those meetings.
Yeah.
It's a lot of meetings.
It's a lot of meetings.
But it's good work.
Okay. Beecher Road School update. Ms. Sherman.
It's a little hard to follow all the amazing things between the student awards and then the student council and then all the great work the PTO is doing and then this fabulous equipment and all the work, but I'm going to try. I also want to share with you that we have successfully recycled 1,000 pounds of plastic at Beecher Road School, which means we do in fact have a bench, which was my goal, in case you didn't know. I was very excited about getting this bench. So huge kudos to BJ Ahern because she really spearheaded and led this. The bench is like in our building and we're going to build it and find a place for that. And I said, let's keep going and get more benches. So we're going to continue our recycling project. We do need some support to continue it because Ms. Ahern really took it all on this year, and she said I really need some help to do it. So I'm going to be putting out a call for some volunteers to maybe help make that happen again, so we can keep not only helping the earth but also getting awesome benches for our school. I also want to mention that we did complete our final Tools for Schools meeting. Tools for Schools is our indoor air quality group, and it is comprised of staff members, board members, health officials. It's led by Vito Asparo. He does an amazing job every year of distributing a survey to our staff members where they get to talk about indoor air quality. They get to talk about the room, the cleanliness of the room, and they get to talk about anything that they sort of observe within their space. And then the committee meets and does walkthroughs of the building throughout the school year. And we have the opportunity to talk about any of the concerns in the air quality, in the building, and the cleanliness, and take some steps to remediate those concerns. So at this final meeting that we just had, we reviewed the work, the year of work that we have done. We actually looked again at the survey questions to make sure that we were really getting the answers and the information that we needed. We changed some of the wording of the questions, and we made some plans for distribution of that survey again next year in the fall, and the next steps that we'll take as a group next year. We also welcomed our incoming kindergarten students. Our kindergarten teachers and some staff helped support this visit. Tuesday, May 6th, they came, the parents came, and they stayed with me in the cafeteria. The future Beecher students came and got to visit a kindergarten classroom. They got to read a story, they got to do some coloring, and we got to just enjoy interacting with our newest Beecher kiddos. The parents also were treated to presentations not only by me, but Mr. Taddy and Mr. Rourke, as the directors of Extended Day, came and spoke. Ms. Charliglio came and spoke about SEP. So they got to hear from some of our community members and put some names to faces as well. As a reminder, anybody out there listening, kindergarten registration is still open. It is a rolling process. We will take you anytime, and we are thrilled to have you. Superintendent Tenza touched on this a little bit about the Amity interns, but we have a number of Amity interns, and I will say almost all of them are former Beecher students. I think we have one or two that are not former Beecher students, and one of them, she actually said to me, my sister got to come here and I didn't, and I'm actually mad about it. And I was like, well, that's lovely. But she came to intern with us, which is really sweet. It is really fun to see them. Their faces look exactly the same. They're just tall. They're all tall. And it's really fun to have them back again. And I know that the teachers love having them. I usually have more teachers looking for interns than interns, which happened again this year, but we're very thrilled to have them all.
Okay, next on the agenda is the BRS Infrastructure Building Committee update. So Mr. Hughes is not with us this evening, however, we do have
We have some pictures that
some
I think that
phenomenal pictures.
Mrs. Coonan and I would love to just try to click through. We're just going to click through. It's a series of before and after pictures that Vito put together for us, our Director of Facilities. I don't remember how it was named. Marcia, you scanned it. Do you remember how you named it?
Probably Beecher
It should
facilities.
say BRS facility.
Yeah.
If it's not there, if I can take that USB off the computer, I can get those on there in no time.
We all have them in our, oh, I guess for people at home.
Yeah, if you can take this, I don't think it's on there.
Right up.
Yeah, that's what people at home to see. So while we're waiting to see the pictures, I'll just share with you that
The tea.
there was a special meeting of the committee on May 5th, and the only agenda item was to add alternates to the site work, because as we did some things, we recognized that there were areas that really it would be helpful if we added those on to the project. There was some
Right.
money left over.
It's just like your house. When you
Yeah.
Right.
change your carpet, you realize that your walls look terrible, and you're like, so you,
And that's what we've
things
done.
touch each other, and you're like, oh, that's not going to work.
And I think it's made a huge difference in terms of really making the areas look much more finished.
And it's more economic to do it now.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and they were there, and yeah, so.
And the town was great with us. Every time we asked them, can we do this? Can we add this? They always said yes, and we still stayed on budget.
And so some of the things that were both in the original project and the add alternates have increased safety and improved sightlines for security.
And the drainage.
And drainage,
Problems.
yes. But those are two other enhancements that I think that we should note for the community. All right, so while we're waiting for the pictures, I'll just move on to, which kind of ties in because it's facility related, the Facilities Committee report. And I will just give a little update on what our last meeting, which was, I don't know, our May meeting, 2 weeks ago. Jay was there, Jeff was there, I was there. As always, Vito and his crew continue to monitor all HVAC maintenance and repairs. There have been several fire system repairs that have occurred during the April break. We have updated signage was installed on the Kazinskis Loop. As Carrie pointed out, the new wheelchair accessible merry-go-round and swing were installed on the North Playground, and the fire control panel upgrade has been scheduled for the week that school gets out. So, as always, things are moving along with the facility. Okay, now we're going back to the item.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go grab that clicker.
Yep.
So actually, these don't even really, Carrie, would you mind just clicking through for me?
Sure.
These don't really need a lot of explanation, excuse me. You're going to see the before and after. So the before is always on the left, and the after is always on the right. And they were both, series of pictures were taken after a heavy rain so that we could actually see the drainage. And, you know, I think maybe we forgot how bad it was.
And how great it looks
And
now.
how great it looks now, until we started to really compare the before and afters. We were very appreciative. The company had taken the befores, and then Vito went out and stood in basically the same angles to get the afters, but you can see some of them are really significant improvements, aesthetically and drainage-wise.
Yeah, just look at that water pooling.
Right, I mean, it's just so significant, the water collection
And even safety, many of those in the front, those walkways were just crumbling.
See
and
that
bubbling
curb,
and-
go back one, and that will prevent the erosion just by channeling the water down the pavement there instead of down the hill toward the building. And that is probably the worst area, pre-work there, where we would actually get water into the building sometimes, and now it's not an issue at all.
and you can see how the clearing of the area improves the sight lines in terms
Yeah.
of our security for when first responders, if first responders need to come to the campus.
Those were so buckled. and
Yeah,
just
if
really.
in egress in an emergency, that was a terrible, everything buckled by the tree roots before.
Right. That's outside the cafeteria, the bottom picture, and this is the K-wing. That's the last one.
Yeah, so we just really wanted the board to see. I did send them to the town as well so that they could see, because their funds help support this, project.
Yeah, we couldn't be happier with it.
Yeah.
So I would just also like to acknowledge Vito's work with the companies that came in and did both the roof work and the site work. His oversight and really being on top of the people who came in and worked is really deserving of big compliment from the board.
And Donna too, because she's
Don,
always on-
absolutely.
she's always
And
on-
Vonda, who was out there
Yeah,
walking
that's
around.
she's always
too.
on top of
Yeah.
things. And,
Donna
Right.
she's the facilities part of Donna's job has really blossomed over the last year and a half. Continuing to blossom as well. And
Donna's learned a lot.
I have,
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we all have.
from Vito.
So thanks for that. We have great people working on making sure that the town's money is spent appropriately. Speaking of the town's money, Finance Committee.
All right.
Good segue.
That was a very nice segue. So we are 10 months complete in our fiscal year, 2 left to go. And really not a lot different in terms of the overall total. We are, as of the end of April, 112,000 under budget compared to about 118,000 in March, so almost unchanged overall. Some modest changes I will note. 100 series, we're looking at an estimated $61,000 surplus compared to $77,000 surplus last month. We were able to hire a couple of paraeducators, although that cost was balanced out by the departure of a part-time social worker. 200 series benefits show a $33,000 surplus this month compared to about $38,000 last month. And this is due to minor adjustments to project payroll taxes and SEMERS payments, which will happen as they go. 500 series other purchase services. This is student transportation, tuition, interns. We're currently running an estimated nearly $30,000 under budget, which is down slightly from a, well, actually, that's up slightly from a surplus of $26,000 last month, and this reflects adjustments to pupil transportation and tuition. 400 series purchase property services is currently forecast to be about $8,000 under budget compared to about $19,000 under last month. We continue to make adjustments based on utility uses, but on the plus side, when Donna prepared the report, the idea is that heating oil expenses would be done for the year, although looking at the weather forecast for the next couple of days remains to be seen.
Well, we switched over to air, so there's no more heat.
Tell everyone to bring a sweater.
Dress warm. Dress appropriately, people. All right, running pretty much on budget as they have been. Our 700 series furniture and equipment, 800 series dues, fees, miscellaneous, including the Ezra nurse. On the higher expense side of the ledger, the 300 series purchase professional services forecast a roughly $5,000 deficit compared to about a $31,000 deficit last month. And that's because our annual audit process was put out to bid in collaboration with the town, and we were able to secure a much better price for that service. And then finally, 600 series materials and supplies were at $16,000 over budget compared to $13,000 last month, which reflects additional custodial supplies, which clearly from our board presentations tonight, we know are being put to very good use. Donna, anything else you'd care to add?
Maybe the only thing is I'm thinking of as we sit here, we still have to produce the bill to New Haven for the people that work on open choice, the special services provided. And so all along I've been considering the salaries coming out, but I don't know who that staff is, and if they have health, some health might we might get to decrease our health projected expenses if some of those people that open choice paras take health, we will be able to bill that to New Haven as well.
Okay. Any questions?
Questions?
I had two very broad ones. So I was at the budget meeting I watched the budget meeting very quickly. The one thing that I've mentioned a number of times is this excess cost grant. So the excess cost grant comes as an intergovernmental allocation to the town.
Correct.
And the way I think about this is that only arises, maybe Donna, you can correct me. It only arises because of the school. So it only arises because we incur the expense. And when I think about a ledger as debit and credit, that's the part I would think that should go to us, but not directly. I get it, it goes to the town.
Right.
But at the same time, I think about our percentage increase for next year. And you mentioned our percentage increase to be about, what, 5 and change? I would say when I looked at the excess cost grant, that drops it significantly if that allocation would be ours. Does that make sense? Because I think Amity, and I was trying to figure this out from the basic accounting they were giving us at the high school, I looked quickly and I said, no, that doesn't come as an intergovernmental, that goes back to the schools and the way the three towns are coordinated. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure I'm following about the 3 schools.
Yeah, so what I.
So they're a region, so they
Right.
probably get theirs directly.
Yeah, so the school got it, from what I saw, the school got it directly. So I'm thinking, if we're gonna account for like here, on an education basis, then shouldn't we, I don't want the money to come back to us, that's not my argument, because it comes from the same pot. I just want somebody to realize that our budget for next year may be 5 and change, but actually it's much less, because there's that excess cost grant that feeds into it. Does that make sense?
Well, except that it's so, for a district our size, it's so, you know, if there was an outplaced tuition that was, you know, $200,000 and it rolls off, that's going to drastically change our excess cost because it's so complicated, but we.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
So the way I was
So
thinking.
you can't look
is
at ours
that-
going down thinking.
No, so what I was thinking is, we got our 5, let's say 5.18%. I would say, in reality, this year, given the excess cost grant, this is what it should be. So it'd never be higher than that. Do you see what I'm saying? So even if the excess cost grant was 0, it would still be 5.18%. However, if the excess cost grant came in at 200 and something, then now 200 and something on a budget of, say, 20 million is significant as a percentage term. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right, but they're probably really getting more like $30,000 to $45,000
Okay.
on behalf of us because of previous, you know, our high cost kids went down, you know.
Okay.
So
Okay, so it would have made sense previously, and I think I mentioned this previously, it would have made sense previously. But you're saying now, given that those costs aren't being incurred, is probably the best way to describe
right,
this.
or maybe they're being incurred by Amity, or you know.
Okay, so that was one part of it. I forgot the second part, so let's keep
Okay.
going. There was another part I wanted to ask about. It was similar. It was on a budget notion. But I'll come back to it. Sorry.
I would just, as you guys are thinking about what to do with the
Excess.
I'm just mixing word, extra money that we, you know.
Potential surplus,
Surplus, that's what I was thinking, excess. I think there was a great appreciation for some of the supplies that were covered this year. And so I think that would be I think that the parents would appreciate seeing that happen again. So just wanted to put that. I know it was in your notes.
I agree.
It was
And
in your notes, so I saw that, but I just wanted to like add in my voice of encouragement that I think it was really appreciated and went a long way.
Right. No, and we're also nervous about the cost of things next year. We want to buy them sooner than later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
And tissues, lots of tissues.
Right.
Tissues.
See,
There
that,
seems
when
to
I-
always be
when
a
I-
shortage of tissues.
When I did see that, I thought that would be a great project with the PTO. So I thought the PTO could contribute some of the funds as well. So the school could contribute some, given that that's not hard education, it's the soft side. Does that make sense? So I was hoping that Cindy would be here.
I mean, I will say though that in some of our peer districts, that parents don't have to send in supplies. And so I think
Right.
that's where our parents are noting, like, well, my friends who live in these other districts that are right around us, they say they don't have to pay for it. Why are we paying such high taxes? And we have to send in supplies. So, I mean, I was just noting, I think from the parent pocket, the appreciation.
And this is why I said the PTO could maybe contribute to, if we put a certain amount in, they might be willing to put a certain amount in too,
Yeah,
to cover the full amount.
I don't know how the PTO works. I just appreciate the PTO, but I don't know how they make their decisions.
And they have a board just like us, right? So I was thinking that might be a way, because I liked all your suggestions. I think they were all very good. But there were certain ones that I thought we could find somewhere else. Does that make sense? Even with the capital one, I thought we could maybe ask the town to help us with that one. And then, you got a nice wish list. As much as we can get done on that would be great.
Thank you. Policy Committee and adoption of policies.
All right, we went over these last time, so I'm not going to review each of these because I'm assuming you did your due diligence during our 30 days. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna move that we approve policy 5113.911. That's the Connecticut School Climate as revised.
Do I have a second? Lauren? Motion made by Aaron Williamson, seconded by Lauren Franchese. Any discussion on policy 5113.911?
And I would be, before we vote on it, I'm noting on the agenda, on this, it says 5113.911, but actually on the policy, it's 5131.911. So I think I actually need to amend that.
Sorry, you're right. Okay, so the motion is for policy 5131.911. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
All right, I move that we adopt policy 6115, school ceremonies and observances as revised.
Second? Stephen? Motion made by Aaron Williamson, seconded by Stephen Lawrence, to adopt policy 6115 as revised. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
I move that we adopt policy 6140, curriculum as revised.
Do I have a second? Jay? Motion made by Aaron Williamson, seconded by Jay Daya, for policy 6140, curriculum as revised. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
I move that we adopt policy 6141.312, migrant students as
Do I have a
revised.
second? Motion made by Aaron Williamson, seconded by Mike Strambler, to adopt policy 6141.312, migrant students as revised. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
I move that we adopt policy 6141.321, internet acceptable use as revised, and delete policy 6141.323, which, if you will remember, was basically a duplicative policy.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Lauren? Motion made by Aaron Williamson, seconded by Lauren Franchese, to adopt policy 6141.321, internet acceptable use as revised, as well as delete policy 6141.323. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Okay, I move that we approve policy 6141.322, school staff student publications as revised, and recodify it to 6145.3.
Do I have a second? Stephen? Motion made by Aaron Williamson, seconded by Stephen Lawrence, to adopt policy 6141.322, district school staff student publications as revised, and to recodify it to policy number 6145.3. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
And finally, I move that we approve policy 6141.326, social media as revised.
Do I have a second? Mike? Policy. Motion made by Aaron Williamson, seconded by Mike Strambler, to adopt policy 6141.326, social media as revised. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. A lot of hard work. Well done. CABE Liaison Report. The CABE Government Relations Committee is about to begin its yearly cycle of gathering and developing resolutions. These resolutions will be acted upon by the membership at the CABE Delegate Assembly on November 20, 2025, and if adopted, will become the positions of the association for 2026. If any board member has a suggestion for a resolution, please send it to me so that we can include it on our agenda for discussion and action over the summer months. Vonda shared in her last week's board update a sample resolution proposal as well as a list of the current resolutions. So take a look at those and decide if we want to do anything. Probably July when we retreat. That would be a time when we would look at that. So you have a little bit of time, but I wanted to give the reminder. Upcoming meeting presentations. Our June Board of Education meeting will include end of year highlights, so that will be exciting for us to see. And also board members, it's the time of year to begin the process for the board's annual self-evaluation. Vonda will be sending out the document on June 2nd with a return date of June 16, so that she is going to compile the data for our board discussion in July at our retreat, but she's willing to collect all that so it's done at the end of the year. Because board self-evaluation is part of our policy. So we want to get that done, and Vonda was kind enough to say she was willing to be our collator of that data, and then we'll be able to share it at our retreat in July with our new superintendent. So please be watching your email for an email from Vonda on the including the self-evaluation form. Okay, monthly community service announcement, upcoming meetings. The policy committee will meet on Monday, June 2nd, 4:30 p.m. Even though my notes say a.m., wouldn't that be fun? The curriculum committee is scheduled to meet on Thursday, June 5th at 4:00 p.m. Finance committee is scheduled to meet on Tuesday, June 10th at 4:30 p.m. Beecher Infrastructure Building Committee will meet on Thursday, May 22nd. That's this week at 3:30 p.m. And again on Thursday, June 12th at 3:30 p.m. Via WebEx. And our next regular monthly meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, June 16th at 7:00 p.m. in the main meeting room of Town Hall. Board members, just so that you can plan, we will be having an executive session at 6 p.m. prior to that meeting because we're bound to do a superintendent evaluation, which will also serve as Vonda's exit interview. So that will be at 6 p.m. on Monday, June 16th. Okay, so that's all our business in terms of schedule. Last on the agenda, or next on the agenda, sorry, not last, but next, is new business and action and acceptance on certified staff resignations. So, Ms. Tenza, you had something you were going to say about that.
I do. We have 2 staff members that have had opportunities crop up over the last month, and they have, both made a decision to resign for a different opportunity. They're both very excited. I don't think either one of them is happy to leave us, but they're happy for the new opportunities. So the first person that we have resigning is a teacher very excited to fulfill her lifelong dream of relocating to the warm, sunny South with her family down to the Carolinas. So Lori Calabrese is currently teaching grade 1. I believe she was hired as a kindergarten teacher. And, it's interesting to note that when I, peeked through her file, one of her letters of reference in her original application was from a fellow grade 1 teacher, Lynn Piazzik. So you wrote one of her original letters of reference, which brought her to us here at Woodbridge. She's been with us 11 years. She has shared her creativity and her passion for literacy with everybody, and I am confident that she is leaving with a wealth of funny stories that only a kindergarten and first grade teacher could accumulate by working with those children of that age. She's demonstrated love, patience, curiosity, and collaboration, and she will be missed. We wish Lori Calabrese well. The second teacher recently accepted a position in a town much closer to her home as a library media specialist. Katie McCullum has made a very difficult decision. I know that I went and hugged her, I think yesterday, and she was teary. She's very excited to go back to library media. She has served in a variety of roles at Beecher Road School and has been, just a leader in so many ways over the last 21 years. She's taught so many grade levels, I did not bother to list them. She taught MAG. She was library media specialist. She embraced so many after-school opportunities for our children and has been a consistent voice on many building level committees. We have no doubt that she will continue to become a leader, and she will be the heart of her new school, and we will miss her as well. So we do expect to post for those open positions before the end of the week so that we can get started on trying to find other great new people to join us at Beecher Road School.
Thank you. So I'll just add a little. Indeed, Lori Calabrese came to Beecher while I was still a teacher and served in the intern program. And I was happy as one of her mentor teachers to write her a reference, and to have her join the staff was really a delight. And she did come to start in kindergarten, but then moved to first grade, which was always my love. So I was happy to, as a board member, go back and visit her and see the great things that were going on in her room. Katie McCullum was hired while I was still teaching, and she taught first grade with me the first year she was there. So I have very fond feelings for both of these women who have offered so much to the Beecher Road School community, and so I wanted to just personally thank them as a fellow educator and a member of the board. So we'll act on each resignation separately, and certainly with regret for what Beecher is losing in terms of the talents that they brought to our school and community, but with joy for them as they move on to these new endeavors. So I will make a motion that we accept the resignation of Lori Calabrese effective June 30th, 2025, indeed with much regret. Do I have a second? Stephen? Any discussion? All those in favor? Sadly, unanimously. And next, I will make a motion that we accept the resignation of Katie McCullum, effective June 30th, 2025, again, with much regret. Do I have a second to that? Mike? Any discussion? All those in favor? Sadly, unanimously as well. So we wish them well in their new endeavors, and I'm certain that we'll hear good things about them wherever they are.
We absolutely will.
Thank you, Vonda, for that. Public comment? Seeing none, there is no need for executive session this evening, so I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Lauren, is there a second? Jay, thank you. All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. And that would be effective 9:14 p.m. adjournment. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.